Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and thank you so much for taking the time to tune in to my crazy ass. I'm here, it is me. This is the first video that I have done where I'm just going to be looking at talking about one topic and focusing on that for a little bit of time. So I'm going to try and keep this video a little bit on the shorter side because you know that I love to chat. But yeah, I'm here and the topic at hand that I'm looking at is what happens when we die. And so I get asked this a lot. As you know, I am a psychic medium, so I am able to communicate with those that have crossed over to the spirit world or the spirit worlds plural. And this is something that I've been able to do for a while now. So yeah, you're going to hear my perspective on it. And of course, everyone has their own view and perspective. And we all come to this topic with the culture that we came from, the religious system that we came from, and we all have our own beliefs. So I'm just going to be sharing another belief with you as well about what I have been shown and about what I have been taught in regards to what happens when we actually have that crossover transition, I guess you could say. So yeah, before we start, I'll do a little intro. I hope that you're all having a really good week and that everything is going well for you. I've been really busy, so I've just been flat out, and I said I was going to make the time to come and do some videos. So here I am, promises made, promises kept. I do have a few notes that I'm going to be using to stay on task, because I love to chat. So that being said, if you feel so inclined, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think, share your opinions. I'm very interested in what other people believe in their spiritual systems and listening to other people's stories. I don't have all the answers, no who does, but I can only share and pull from my own experiences. So, by no means is this some kind of like be all end all kind of thing. It's really not. It's just another opinion based on my interpretation of some complicated stuff, I guess we could say. So that being said, when we have first of all, I think we have to look at the religious side of this topic before we get started, because a lot of people, their whole life is really based on behavior, based on behaving right, because they've been promised the promise of heaven. They've been promised that if they behave and if they cross their I's and dot their T's, that they will be able to be received on the other side, and they're going to have this, blissful experience for eternity. And if they don't behave, then they're going to end up in a fiery torment, and they're going to be punished for it, because that's what, hell, heaven and hell. So just first off the bat, I'm just going to take that straight off the table from what I have been shown and from what I know in my heart and what I've been, privy to, is that I can say that heaven and hell is a man-made concept. Okay, so humans have been documented on this planet for over 200,000 years. And religion, or Abrahamic religion systems, have only been here for less than 2,000 years. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that on the table there right now. So I can assure you that there is no heaven or hell. If you want to know hell, look no further than planet Earth, okay? Because this can definitely be a place that is like hell at a lot of, we know that. So anyway, getting on with the notes. When we have the death experience, it's kind of like, we call it like the flatline experience. Some people have had what we call near-death experiences. So it's where they've started to transition across to the other side, and for whatever reason, the body hadn't completely died, and then they've had an experience where they've spoken to spirit, they've communicated, they've seen a few things. Time works different in the spiritual world, as I've explained to you before, and then for whatever reason, they came back and they were able to share that experience with us. So we know that the near-death experience is something that some people have been privy to, but what I can tell you is that the soul can't live in the 3D dimension with, or 3D reality version of this reality without a body. Okay, so it can't actually, it needs a place to go. Once the brain is pronounced brain dead and there is no blood flow, there is no oxygen, I think it's like about a 6 to 9 minute window, the body begins to shut down, and then the soul begins to depart the body. So we know that inside of us, we all have an invisible energy, which is the soul. Now, the soul is a fractal of source. I'm going to get a little bit meta here. Basically, the Godhead or the universe needed to understand itself. And in order to do that, what it did, it had what we call the Big Bang. It was just, this is kind of getting a little bit sciencey now. And when the Big Bang happened, all of these fractals of source were all splintered down into different paradigms and different frequencies and different codes. And then they became, atoms, cells, planets, everything formed. And then we, of course, are also an extension of that as a human being here, having a human experience. So we're all fractals of what we call source, or we're all fractals of what we are as the Godhead, or whatever it is that you choose to call it. Okay, so we come down, we have this human experience, and we go through we should be going through, I should say, all of the trials and the tribulations of life. We experience life in all of its agonizing glory. We experience love. We experience heartbreak. We experience rejection. We experience hatred. We experience anger. We come down and we have all of these experiences. And so what it really is that we are all kind of mirrors to each other, all projecting back to each other. And so with reincarnation, which is what actually happens, is that souls travel in herds. So they come down and they can kind of see all of the potential paths, all the potential timelines, all of the types and patterns of living things. And then they incarnate into that archetype, astrologically, Yes, I'm talking DNA. Yes, I'm talking that, yes, we chose all of it. I know I'm getting a little bit ranty, but I have to kind of give a little bit of a backstory to it to kind of explain what I'm trying to get across. So yes, we chose our parents. I know that's hard to hear for a lot of people. Yes, we did. We chose it all. And we came down here for that experience. Now, so the thing about reincarnation is that when we come down and we have this experience, we can't understand something other than being in that paradigm and living in that paradigm. So what happens is it's all based on polarity. So we can't have anything in the universe or anything in this world without contrast. So what I'm saying here is, say in this life, the mother will be like a homophobic bitch, or the dad might be an asshole, and he'll have a gay daughter, or she'll have a gay daughter that she hates, or someone she can't understand. And then in the next life, it'll be a reverse, and then she'll be the daughter, and the daughter will be the And I hope you kind of get where I'm going with this. A really, really good analogy, which I like to use a lot of the time, is if I held a mirror up to myself, I can only see like one angle of myself. Okay, I can move that hand mirror around to different angles, but I can't see myself as a perspective of all of the angles from me, from just one angle that I'm holding on to. So what it is that as we are an extension of the universe, trying to understand ourselves through basically the universe is getting expansion, through our experiences, because we are part of the universe. I hope this isn't freaking out. I hope this isn't just too crazy, but yeah, so say if you're holding a mirror and you're only able to see one angle of yourself, you're only going to have a very limited view of what you can see. If I went into like a mirror house where there's tons and tons and tons of mirrors everywhere and they're all at different angles, what that's going to do is it's going to give me a greater perspective on myself, because I can now see myself from all of these angles. I can see up, down, backwards, underneath me, everything. So that's what it is. And that's what it's all about. It's about expansion and it's about learning. it is not about punishment. Okay, so it's not about judgment. And I know that's hard for a lot of people to hear, because we know that some people we feel deserve to be punished, and I know that we feel that it wouldn't be fair. And I'll get onto that in a minute. So yeah, I hope I'm giving you a little bit of the back pretext of this so that I can continue this little chat with you, so you can get where I'm going with it. So say you've had the death experience, you're done with this life, or your body's done with you, and you've flatlined and you've crossed over. What generally happens is there is spirit on the other side, from what I've been shown, and spirit will start showing up for you or around you at that time of the croak experience, I think a lot of spiritualists call it. And then they will help facilitate that to bring you across to the other side. So there might be a lot of sick kids or sick people that are, in a long period, that have endured a long period of suffering. And so they are basically ready to cross over to the other side. Spirit or ancestors or relatives, family, whoever. And even if you don't have someone on the other side, there will be something there for you. And let me just, and so what will happen is they'll see that it's easier for you to come across to the other side, and then they're just going to start bringing you across. That transition can happen over a period of time. So there is visitation from spirit in dream, and there is kind of like a gearing up process for the transition of coming across to the spirit world. So when you have the spirit, when the spirit starts to separate from the body, and we know what we do with the body, what we do in modern culture or in culture, we honor the body, we give it a burial, we burn it, we get rid of it, we bury it, we obviously that this is the physical shell, and then the spirit will go through up into a portal. It's kind of like a little energy ball or a ball of light, like an orb, and then it goes up into like a tunnel. Now, this is where it gets interesting. As you come back to the grid, by the way, above this planet, in just slightly out of a different dimension, there is actually a grid that is above the planet. The bubble goes back up to the grid and it hits the grid. Once it hits the grid, there is something which you may know about. It's called a replay. Now, a replay, I'm sure you probably heard someone say, "I saw my life flash before my eyes," kind of thing. That was them beginning to get a replay. Now, in a replay, this is where it gets complicated. So I'm going to just put it really simply. You will start to see the different angles and different projections of all of the love and all of the chaos that you created. Okay? Now, no one's getting away from this. Some people call this a judgment, and in a lot of ways it could be a judgment, but it's not a judgment in the sense of another being is asserting themselves over you because you were so naughty and scolding you. It's more about you seeing yourself from a perspective of how you impacted other people in horrible ways, or how you may have set something in motion in a domino effect based on your behavior that would show you exactly what the outcome or the aftermath of that, or how that impacted someone else in a really negative way or in a really positive way. This is why it's very important to live a life with integrity. It's very important to live a life that is based in truth, because when we don't live a life that's based in truth, we just go around creating more and more chaos in other people's lives. And that's when it gets really messy. And that's when you start really kind of like acquiring very bad karmic debt, which will be paid off. So that's kind of, I know I'm skimming over a lot of stuff. This is a very complicated subject, but I'm trying to skim over it. So you go back to the other side, and you will be there for a period of time. Now, it depends on what your lesson was, or it depends on what your objective was. If you, for example, I'm just going to put it bluntly, if you just didn't evolve, didn't learn your lessons, you just fucked around, you caused chaos, from what I've been shown, you basically get reincarnated straight away. You're going straight back, and you'll probably be incarnated lower in the astral levels. By the way, the other world, or the spirit world, also has levels. The angelic world also has levels. The demon world also has levels. All humans are hierarchical. Everything has a level. Everything is, we have pigeons and then we have eagles. Okay, there's different levels to things. I know that sounds hard, but that's what it is. All right, so they will most likely be incarnated back into a very low paradigm, and then they'll have to live that out. There is a reset that happens, and I'm going to answer another question that someone asked me in my Q&A that I never got to. How come we don't remember past lives? Think about it. If we remembered all of our past lives that we've had while we're trying to live in the life that we're in now, that would be so overwhelming for the brain and the consciousness. I mean, life's already hard enough just existing in one paradigm now as you. So having multiple paradigms of consciousness in one being at one time, it's just too traumatic. So what happens is when we come down and we're incarnated again, and we're reborn again, it's like an iPhone reset in a way. So the phone is white, and then we have to start again from scratch. And it's hard to explain a little bit because time doesn't work anything. Like, the concept of time is a human construct based on this planet. The other side is not bound to the law of time or money or shit like that, you know. So it's kind of hard to explain, but the real reevaluation is when you go back to spirit, and then you have to really face what you've done and then come to terms with that. There are conversations that will take place in the spirit world between beings as well. So beings will re-meet again on the other side. So if you've lost someone that you think you'd never ever see again, you don't count yourself out. You probably will most likely see them on the other side. Yes. In some cases, some souls don't want to come back and they feel that they have done all that they needed to do. They're not going to hang around and watch their relatives. They're just going to go on and reincarnate, or they're going to go on to something else. There are other things out there as well that you can incarnate into, or other systems out there, but that I don't want to complicate this video too much. I'm trying to give you the basic 101 here. So yeah, so it's an iFactory reset, and then you go through life. Now, some people can actually access their past lives, and yes, a lot of us come down in little pods, and so this is like souls travel in herds. So it's kind of like, think of like whales in the ocean, the beautiful whale in the ocean, and they swim together, and what happens is, over time, your time with that pod or that group of people will come to a time where it needs to end, as all things must, and then something new begins, and then you will gravitate, your soul will begin to gravitate towards other souls. And this is known in the spiritual world as a soul migration. So it's something where my time with this person or this group of people, with this family, has come to its natural conclusion, and you begin to move on. It's actually quite a beautiful thing, and that's actually what happens there. So I'm giving you a little bit of a I hope I haven't lost you and it's all too crazy, but put a comment below if you understand where I'm going with all of this. So yeah, it's all learning. It's not about punishment. It's not about judgment. It would actually serve you no purpose to actually just be an internal punishment. That wouldn't teach you anything. You have to come back and redo it again and relearn again. Now, when it comes to suicide, this is complicated, and I don't want to be an advocate for suicide because I've totally been there, like many times in my life. I struggled with depression. I struggle with life in general. A lot of the time I might seem like I have myself, I'm all put together and I'm able to talk and I'm communicative, but a lot of the time I have a lot of hardcore problems. I don't advocate suicide, but I understand how someone can get there, and it's not the answer. Obviously, it's not the way to go, but I do know, and I've seen when someone has reached a point where everything that they needed to do was completed and their purpose or their mission for this life came to its place. I have seen it go that way, yes, but I'm not advocating, please don't twist my words. I'm not advocating for that act, but yes, it is. It's a very sad act, obviously, because it causes chaos in other people's lives. And having been a medium and dealing with clients coming that have tried to communicate with people that have committed suicide, it's quite alarming to me that a lot of people that come to see a medium to talk about someone that has now crossed over, they come at it from a point of view where it's like, I had no idea. And it's like, well, yeah, that's exactly why it happened. Because, like, a lot of people come to mediums because they want us to absolve them of their guilt, of their absence or negligence in that person's life. Even if they were abusing that person, they still want to be told that they're okay, and they're looking for someone to absolve them of that shame and guilt. And by the way, I'm not the one to come to for that, because I say it how I see it. And a lot of spirits don't actually want to talk to people here that are in the physical world, because they're still processing what happened. So yeah, I hope that made sense. There are what we call walk-ins as well, where it's like a baby that will come in and will live a very short little life. They may die of cancer or get blown up in a bomb or a war or something. There's a lot of that. I don't understand a lot of that stuff. I'm not privy to that, so I can't comment on that. But that is like a walk-in. So a lot of those, it's so complicated. It's so complicated. There's so much to unpack in this video. Where was I going with this? I've completely scrapped my notes, by the way. It's all just coming out of me now. So there's walk-ins, and then there's people that live their life, they live their story, they come here, they incarnated, they did what they needed to do, they shared those experiences. They come in, like, life purpose comes in so many different ways. Like, I mean, it's your life, like everyone's life purpose is so unique and so different. So it's so hard to kind of pinpoint, anything in that regard. And that's not for me to do. Everyone has their reasons for doing why they do what they do. The real reason that I wanted to do this video was to share with you that it's not about shame, and it's not about this good versus bad thing. Like, we're all good and we're all bad. We're all human. We all cause chaos. We all hurt people. And I'll be honest with you, I think a big part of the reason why I'm kind of doing these videos in a way is because I've kind of come to understand just how little time humans really actually have left on the planet. We as a collective, we actually are operating more like a parasite on the planet than we are operating more as a human. And the problem with that is that the natural world, or Mother Nature, can reset that. If she detects that is happening, she can actually wipe that, and she will. Because one of the things that I've learned a lot about, being a witch, is that we're actually just merely visitors here. We do not own the planet. The planet doesn't owe us anything. Mother Nature doesn't need us. She really doesn't. A really good film which unpacks that would be Darren Aronofsky's film Mother. If you haven't seen that film, go check it out. It's a very hardcore film, but it's talking about what I'm kind of talking about right now, actually. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So I'll have a look and see my notes. What else have I said? A lot of, from what I've been shown when I was doing my mediumship, a lot of souls or people, they actually like to come back and revisit their own funeral. So it's very common for a soul to revisit, will stay around. There is about a 14 day to 3 week period, depending on the death. So if it's a very quick, sudden death and it's very traumatic, like a car accident or something very swift came in and it wasn't a very slow process, there is actually a period where the spirit will deliberately stay here until the spirit has come to terms with the fact that they are dead. Then they can cross. So crossing isn't always necessarily light coming down in the operating room and then you go back up. Crossing can happen in other ways other than just, in that instant, you're dead, you crossed. It doesn't work like that. If you could, I think it was a saying that if you could see the amount of spirit that there actually is in the world, in the physical world, as much as they are there, there would be no space to fit the heavens. Like there'd be no space in the sky. Like that's how much spiritual activity is everywhere. And so that's fundamentally what a ghost is. It's a spirit that hasn't crossed over to the other side, and it's kind of stuck in this incorporeal realm. Quick side note with ghosts, ghosts, not so much entities, but ghosts vibrate at the frequency of what it is that they can't get met because they can't meet it in the physical. So the law of attraction in the Hermetic principles actually works in the spirit world just as much as it works here as well. So what I'm saying in that context is that an angry spirit will actually haunt or gravitate towards an angry person. So there's got to be a vibrational match for that to happen. So that's something that I don't see people really talking about, but it's pretty obvious. So yeah, I hope that made sense. What else have I got? What else have I got to share with you? Yeah, so there are mediums, there's psychics out there that can access the spirit world. It is possible. I'm not going to lie, most of them are just 99.9% of them are all scams. You're probably going to get scammed. But yeah, when you find a good one, stick to it. But yeah, I think for the most part, we are here to get on with the art of living. We are here to live. So I would say, get out there and go through the experiences. Don't shut off the experiences. I don't fear death. Actually, in a lot of cases, I would gladly welcome death tomorrow because I'm so, in a lot of ways, I'm just so done with humans. I think, yeah, have a sip of my tea. I'm getting a bit. Yeah, I think this is the last time I'm coming back. And then I think I would like to go on and do other things and help other people transition and go through their processes. For me, I think this is the last time that I'm going to be coming back in this physical form. So yeah, and I'm okay with that. I'm ready. Like death for me would be like, yeah, it is actually quite a peaceful thing, but I don't want to pitch it too much to you. But yeah, all of the physical bullshit that we're so concerned with, like going to work and making money and shit like that, it's all completely a complete waste of time in the spiritual world. I will say the only things that matter in this physical life are three things. Okay, the love that you give. So integration, taking someone in as a part of you and holding that, okay? The love that you receive, okay? And your journey, your spiritual evolution. And evolution requires suffering. It requires torment. Not torment, but it requires a level of work. It requires a level of effort. We die many times in the physical world to be reborn again. We have many deaths in our life. Like when an old paradigm of view comes to its end, and it closes down and then a new one starts, it's always reshifting and readjusting itself. And we know that there isn't a lot of difference between a table and a chair and a human being. It's all just vibrations on different frequencies, except the chair doesn't have a soul, okay? It doesn't have that fractal of source, but it is still made of the same stuff that we are. So that's why the laws of physics can be bent to some capacity and can be twisted and stuff like that, which is what magic is. It's manipulation of source energy. So I'm not scared of death, but what I am scared of is when I see people in my life or I see family members or friends that just aren't really living, or even myself included, even when I wasn't really stepping out into life and giving life a go and trying to put myself out there and trying to meet people and trying to form relationships. Because by the way, the point of life is relationships. If you haven't figured that out, life is relationships. The quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. If you think that you're gonna, and I've got people in my life that are very one-dimensional, very bitter, very like closed off and don't want to go out, don't want anyone to come near them, don't touch me, like kind of resistance to love. They're not doing themselves any favors. They're going to get reincarnated and their ass is going to get dragged straight back here until they get over this shit, and then they can start to build relationships with people and start to live. And I understand why people behave like that. It's a coping mechanism, it's a defense mechanism, it's a protection mechanism. but it completely bypasses life. And what I'm saying is I don't fear death. I fear going through life and not living. So that's one of the biggest fears that I have. Yeah, so each religion has their own kind of like marketing strategy in a way, it's like compliance, based on fear. So you've got to, go to the church and put in your 10% of your income so you can, it's like, the church is a conglomerate, okay? It's the biggest commercial entity in the world. And a lot of the time, I don't know what the fuck they actually do for the world. I mean, it's insane. But yeah, modern religions are all up there with the Easter Bunny. I'd love to see the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy have her own church. I'd love to see that. It's all the same thing on a loop, really. You also notice it all tends to be very patriarchal or very much based on the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. It's always male-based gods that man creates as well. A really good show that explores this concept is a show called Raised by Wolves, which was the HBO Ridley Scott show, which came out a couple of years ago. So check out that because it deals with a lot of stuff that I'm talking about. Not so much the reincarnation stuff, but also just the concepts of religions and what that does to a person. And, it's pretty crazy. So I think I've explained a little bit about, love to chat about what happens when we die. We are reincarnated back. We get the iPhone wipe. Now you can access your Akashic records. You can go back. There are ways of doing that. As a young medium, my crown was quite open as a kid. We know kids are magical, like times 10. So I was that magical kid, and I did remember a lot of past events that had taken place on the planet. I knew a lot about the Cold War in particular. I knew a lot about the Second World War, things like that. So me coming back in again and being incarnated in this form as a male being, I was already kind of like a bit further along than being back there behind the 8 ball, if that makes sense. And for a lot of spiritual people, that would have probably been the case as well. It is what it is. But yes, I do remember what it's like to have a female body. I do remember what it's like to, have a vagina. I remember what it's like to have a clit. I remember what it's like to look at myself in the mirror. A lot of memories, sometimes past memories from other lives can drop into my head and I'll be like, usually it comes in a place when it's needed for me to access information or to get what we call a download. So I can download information from something else somewhere. That's what I do. A lot of the time when I'm in a reading with a client, that's what I do. Someone also asked me about time travel. We can't travel backwards in time, but yes, there are ways to travel forwards in time. Probably not how you think. Now, when it comes to death, and grieving is also a process. There is no time limit on this. I think the idea that we have to get healed is ridiculous. Grieving is a process that takes as long as it takes. And I can tell you after being through some pretty traumatic stuff in my life, we don't get over it. We just get better at living with it, okay? And that's really what healing is integrating it, accepting it, and then trying to live with it and move forward with that. And that's the real healing. It's not a quick fix thing. But also, if you've lost someone that's crossed to the other side and they're gone and you're in that grief, I know what that feels like, and it's terrible. And if you've gone through that and if you're in that now, then, I really understand what you're going through. It is a process and you take your time with it and you understand, but also know that you are here also to live. So if you've been using grief as an excuse to not get out there, then you have to get out there and give life a go because you're here. And that's part of my thing of me doing these videos. We actually don't have as much time as we think we do. So anyway, I'm going to leave it here. This was my first video unpacking, dot point form, my thoughts on what happens when we die, a little bit about reincarnation and a little bit about the systems and the spiritual world. So I hope that you found this video insightful and it was fun. If you've got another topic that you'd like me to share my thoughts on, please don't hesitate. Leave them in the comments below. I will read it. I will check it out. I do enjoy engaging with people. I do accept DMs. I am on Instagram. So come and find me at the Goliath Tarot Deck over there. I'm still working on my kids' book. I've got a lot of work to do, and now I'm going I'm going down the pub to have a beer and to get something to eat. So I'm going to be meeting a friend at the pub. So I'm going to let you guys go. Have a really good night, a good day. Absolute nothing but the best blessings to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.